Hi everyone, it's MJ. I'm a professional doll designer and today I'm going to turn this cheap blind box doll into a one-of-a-kind custom fairy. In this video, I'll show you exactly how I transformed her hair, body, eyes, and makeup. Let's get started! The doll that I used is a blind box BJD from the Mian Mian Strange World Adventure series. Thank you Kika Goods for sending me a full case of these Strange World Adventure dolls to customize. In my BJD reviews playlist, I unbox and give my honest review of these BJD dolls as a professional doll designer. In my latest poll, I asked you which one of these dolls I should customize first, and Kiki got the most votes. Her original design was actually the one that I liked the least from the series because I didn't quite agree with the sexy nun outfit on the cheapy baby doll body. So I was really happy to work on her first and give her a complete makeover. First, I found her a new dress on KikaGoods.com. Purple is my favorite color, so of course I had to get a purple fairy dress for her along with a few other outfits for future projects. By the way, you could use my exclusive promo code MJShoe10 to get 10% off your purchase at KikaGoods.com. They have a really great selection of affordable BJD dolls and doll clothes. I've used their dolls and outfits in many of my BJD makeover videos. After I changed her clothes, I took this photo and painted over it using Procreate to plan out her final look. This helps me figure out what colors to use and how to draw her face. I also use this file to make her custom eyes, and I'll show you how to do that later in this video. If you've been paying attention to my post, you've already seen this preview image. Now that I have a plan for how I want her to look, let's start customizing. Her original hair has beautiful in-molded purple glitter that I wanted to preserve, so I decided to tint it with a much brighter purple to match her new outfit. I sprayed the hair and earpieces with Mr. Super Clear and used chalk pastels that I scraped into a powder. This will tint the hair while allowing the glitter underneath to show through. I used a bright pinkish purple for the top of the head and a darker blue purple for the bottom of the hair. I'm using an eyeshadow brush to apply the pastels. This actually took me several more layers of chalk pastel in Mr. Super Clear to achieve a brighter purple color. Next, I customized her body. I love these heart-shaped paw pads on her hands and feet, but I want to repaint her body, so let's take those off to remove the old deco. In BJD dolls, there's an elastic cord inside the body that connects both hands and another one that connects the feet and the head. When you take off the hands and feet, you can use a paper clip to prevent the elastic from snapping inside of the doll. Open the paper clip a bit, pull the hand until you see the white elastic, then thread your paper clip through the elastic string. Now you can take off the hand and the paper clip will prevent the string from going back inside the doll. I wasn't sure how to take off the heart shape at first, so I tried to pry it out. This method didn't work too well, but I actually found out that it's really easy to remove it if you just poke a tool through the wrist. I want to show you that each part of the arms and legs is labeled with L or R to indicate the doll's left or right side. This has L, which means it goes on the doll's left hand. The legs were harder to take off because their elastic was much thicker and harder to pull. Now I remove the old paint from the face and body with acetone on a cotton pad. I try to work as quickly as possible because acetone is a great paint remover, but it can actually melt plastic. When you're done removing the old paint, rinse it with cold water and seal it outdoors with some Mr. Super Clear, which is a matte clear sealant. This will not only protect your doll's head from getting stained or discolored from pigments, it creates an even surface with a bit of grain to help your pigments stick better. Now I have a blank doll to use and we can start customizing the body. I decided to work on her hands and feet first. To create the gradient on her arms and legs, I used a knife to grind chalk pastels into a powder. I used some sticky putty to attach the hands and feet to some disposable chopsticks so I can hold onto them better while adding the pastel. I like using eyeshadow brushes to apply my powdered pastels. By the way, all of my tools and supplies are listed in my BJD supplies list, linked to the video description below. I find that these soft angled or big fluffy brushes are best for making gradients. I mixed a dusty lavender color to use on the backs of her hands. Start at the top of her hand and gradually blend down towards the elbow. Our palms are slightly more red than the back of our hands, so I mixed a light peach to use just for her palms. Now I'm adding the dusty lavender gradient to her feet. Start at the toes and blend towards the knee. I'm also using peach for the bottom of her feet. I've sealed the hands and feet, so let's paint her paws with acrylics. If you ever want to mix a dusty pastel color, use Titan Buff as your base. It's a pale almond color. I prefer using golden fluid acrylics because they have great coverage and high flow, but I've only been able to find this light violet color in their heavy body acrylics. I used a number 4 round brush to mix my color and paint the heart pieces. I put the heart-shaped paw in her hand and realized I wanted to make it lighter, so I had to mix a new color and take off the paint again. I think this pale lavender and peach is an interesting color combination, so now I'll paint the toe beans on her hands and feet. Instead of sealing the paint with Mr. Super Clear, I'm going to brush on some liquid varnish to give the paw pads a gloss finish. Attaching the hands to the body is a bit tricky. I found that it's easier to attach the hook to the heart-shaped piece first, then drop the hook through the palm of her hand. Do the same thing with her feet. Attach the hook to the heart pad first, then drop the hook through the hole in her foot. An easy way to elevate your custom doll is by blushing the body. I usually do the neck, plus any other exposed parts of the body. Her dress exposes her shoulders, so I'm going to put some blush on her shoulders and collarbone. Body blushing looks best when it's subtle, so only use a little bit. After I sealed the body with Mr. Super Clear, I assembled the hands and feet. I had to use pliers to grab the string and put it around the hook. I can remove the paper clips after attaching the hands and feet. I want this doll to be a magical fairy, so I thought it would be cute to add stars on her legs. I sketched some stars with a white watercolor pencil, then used my smallest brush to paint over them. Now for the part you've all been waiting for, the face. At this point, I haven't finished the eyes yet, so I made these temporary ones to help me sketch out the face. I'm using watercolor pencils. Draw very lightly so you can erase if you make a mistake. Let's darken that eyeliner. I sharpen my pencils with a knife to get a super sharp point. This helps me draw really thin details. Let's draw the other side. I used a brown watercolor pencil to draw the eyelid crease. I'm sketching her mouth, trying to make it look like she's singing. When I'm ready to save my work, I remove the eyes and take the face outside to spray it with Mr. Super Clear. While we're waiting for the face to dry, I can show you how to make these eyes. First, I printed out my BJD eye size chart, which you can download for free on my online store. I measured the doll's original eyes and found that they have a 14mm diameter. I put my eye size chart in a clear plastic folder and used it to make 14mm eyes out of air dry clay. I have a separate tutorial in my YouTube channel showing how to make any size BJD eyes using this method. It's linked in the video description below, so I'll go through these steps pretty quickly. I printed out the eye artwork that I drew in Procreate and cut out the size that I need. I glued my artwork onto the clay eyes, brushed a layer of liquid varnish on top to protect the artwork, added some glitter, to make the eyes glossy, I spread a drop of UV resin on top. Cure it under a UV lamp. I also added resin to the back of the eyes for added strength. Let's see how these new eyes look inside of the face. So far, so good. Okay, now let's remove the eyes and finish her makeup. To do her eyeshadow and blush, I'll use chalk pastels and eyeshadow brushes. I blended a cool pink to use as a light base all over her cheeks and eyelids. It's important to start light and slowly build up the blush color so your doll doesn't look like a clown. I added some blush above her nose, I used a light peach color right underneath her eyes above her cheeks. Using at least 2 different colors of blush is a great way to make your doll's face look more lifelike. Now I'm just layering more pigment. You can add some peach blush along her hairline to add more brighter shadows underneath her hair. Add some peach blush underneath her chin. I want her eyeshadow to look more lavender, but I don't have the right color chalk pastel, so I'm using this watercolor pencil instead. After sealing the blush with Mr. Super Clear, I'm going to paint over my sketch with acrylics. If you only buy one type of purple, it should be dioxazine purple. It's always super pigmented and you only need a tiny drop. To create variations on the color, I'll mix it with Titan Buff, Ultramarine Violet, and Payne's Gray. Sometimes it's easier to flip the head upside down to paint the eyeliner. If you notice that I didn't fully paint her eyeliner yet, it's because I'm making a magenta gradient at the ends. I'm using a thin calligraphy brush to paint these thin details at the outer corners of her eyeliner. Adding more pink to the gradient. Let's do the other side. Here's how her eyeliner gradient looks. Her eyeshadow needs to look more lavender, so I'm painting over it with acrylics. I'm using thin layers to blend it in with a chalk pastel. I'm using the same dusty lavender color on her nose. I'm using thin layers again to make her nose color look a bit transparent. I used my smallest calligraphy brush to draw some thin details in her eyeliner. Painting a thin white line on top of your eyeliner will make it stand out. I'm going to use white to highlight the inside of her eyes. This will make her eyes look bigger and more awake. I drew her bottom eyeliner with a brown watercolor pencil. Sometimes for the bottom eyeliner, it's helpful to view it from the top of the head. Let's draw the eyelashes. I'm going to erase some of the eyeliner that's in between the eyelashes. This is going to make her bottom eyeliner look much lighter. I sealed the face again with Mr. Super Clear, but now the blush has faded a little bit, so I'm going to add a bit more. Let's paint the mouth. I'm starting with her teeth. Use thin layers of paint to gradually build up her lip color. This will make her lips look more natural instead of like lipstick. I'm going over her bottom eyeliner and eyelashes with brown paint. With blue watercolor pencils, I'm adding some shading right underneath the center of her eyeliner to add more dimension to her eyes. Let's draw her eyelashes. First, I'm sketching them with watercolor pencil. Then I'm filling them in with paint. For dolls with really thick eyeliner, you can add small details in the eyeliner. I'm sketching out some highlights with my pencil and then going over it with paint. Need to add that magenta gradient to these lines too. The eyelashes are done, but I still want to add a bit more to the eyes, so I'm painting on some white sparkles. I have these ball-ended styluses that I use to make tiny dots. I dip them in paint and apply it to my doll's face. This one is a needle point and perfect for tiny highlights. I used these to add white dots next to the stars. We can give her a cuter expression by adding soft highlights underneath her eye with a watercolor pencil. You can see that the right eye looks a little bit brighter. Adding white highlights along the bottom to make her look a bit teary-eyed. You can add more dimension by highlighting her eyelid. We're almost done. I'm gonna put on her hair to help me draw her eyebrows. I want to make sure her bangs don't cover up her brows. Lighter eyebrows look more youthful, so I want her brows to have a light pink to purple gradient. Okay, the final finishing touch, I added these chunky iridescent glitter so her tears can catch the light. Let's add the eyes and get her dressed. Here she is all finished. Her eyes turned out super sparkly. She really looks like a magical fairy. Her new hair color matches perfectly with her outfit. The sparkles on her legs enhance her magical vibe, but I think my favorite part about this doll are her little paws. So, what do you think of my doll? She looks quite different from where she started. I still have 3 more of these Mian Mian Strange World BJD dolls to customize, so hit the like button if you want to see more of my doll tutorials. Thanks for watching and see you next time!